You look at the MotoGP grid right now, and it is pretty obvious that the landscape has shifted. We have the young guns coming up, hungry and aggressive, and then we have the absolute titans of the sport holding the line. Right at the top of that mountain of experience sits Marc Marquez. The guy has seen it all, won it all, and crashed more times than most of us have had hot dinners. But here is the interesting part, bro. The man who made a career out of pushing past the limit, often with disastrous consequences, is now preaching the gospel of patience. It sounds a bit ironic coming from him, doesn't it? But when Marc speaks, especially now that he's the seasoned veteran on that Ducati, you have to listen. He recently dropped some serious wisdom directed at the class of 2026, specifically targeting the new Brazilian sensation Diogo Moreira. If you've been following the feeder series, you know Moreira is the real deal. He snatched that Moto2 world title last season with a style that was both smooth and aggressive, earning him a ticket to the big leagues with LCR Honda. That transition, however, is where dreams often hit a concrete wall. We've seen so many Moto2 champions jump onto a MotoGP bike and completely lose their way. The bikes are stiffer, the electronics are a spaceship compared to Moto2, and the aero makes the riding style completely different. So Marquez looking at Moreira and the Moto3 champ Jose Antonio Rueda and telling them to cool it is actually the best advice they could get. Marquez was straight up about it in his interview with Marca. He admitted that patience wasn't exactly his strong suit back in the day. We all remember rookie Marc, right? He wanted to win every corner, every lap, every session. It worked for him because he was an alien, but it also cost him a lot of broken bones later on. Now he's telling Moreira that it's okay to be P20 when you roll out of the pits. Let's break down why that is such a heavy statement, Saab. In this sport, your ego takes a hit when you look at the timing screens and see your name at the bottom. You just dominated the intermediate class. You feel like a king, and suddenly you're 2 seconds off the pace and fighting just to keep the bike on the asphalt. Marquez is basically saying that the process is more important than the immediate position. You have to build the speed brick by brick. If you try to rush the lap time on these 300 horsepower monsters before you understand the tires or the braking markers, the bike will bite you, and it bites hard. He used his own brother, Alex Marquez, as the prime example here, and honestly, that is a solid point. Alex didn't light the world on fire immediately when he joined the premier class. He had that massive shadow of his brother looming over him, and he had to grind. It took him years to really figure out the nuances of the class. But look at him in 2025 and now into 2026. The guy found his footing. He became competitive because he didn't burn out trying to be a hero on day one. He survived, he learned, and eventually the speed came to him. That is the blueprint Marc is trying to hand over to Moreira. Now, let's talk about how Moreira is actually handling this pressure. The 2026 season opener in Thailand was a massive test. Buriram is not an easy track to debut on. You have those long straights where you have to trust the engine, but then you have those hard braking zones that physically punish you. Plus, the heat and humidity are absolutely brutal. For a rookie, just finishing the race without passing out or frying the tires is an achievement. Moreira didn't just finish, though. He brought that LCR Honda home in 13th place in both the sprint and the main Sunday race. Now, to the casual fan, 13th might sound like meh, but you have to look deeper, bro. The LCR Honda has historically been a tricky beast to tame. It's not the easiest bike on the grid to just jump on and go fast. For a rookie to score points in his very first weekend, keeping his nose clean and maintaining a consistent pace, that's huge. It shows he's actually listening. He didn't try to win the race in the first corner. He managed his tires, managed his energy, and brought the bike home in the points. That is exactly what Marquez meant by finding your rhythm little by little. You start at the back, you understand how the carbon brakes feel when they start to fade, you learn how the dirty air from the bike in front affects your front tire pressure, and you move forward. It's a mental game as much as a physical one. The talent is clearly there. You don't win a Moto2 title by accident. Moreira has the raw speed, but the MotoGP paddock is a pressure cooker. Teams invest millions, sponsors want airtime, and the media is always looking for the next superstar or the next failure. It's incredibly easy for a young rider to override the bike just to prove a point, and that's usually when the high sides happen. Marquez acknowledging that these kids, Moreira and Rueda, are proven champions is a nice touch of respect. It validates their arrival, but his emphasis on working hard is the key. Talent gets you to MotoGP. Work ethic keeps you there. The work isn't just twisting the throttle. It's sitting in the garage until late at night staring at telemetry data, understanding why you're losing a tenth in Sector 3, and figuring out how to fix it without crashing. It's going to be fascinating to watch Moreira's development this year. If he keeps this mindset, ignoring the noise, accepting that P13 is a stepping stone to P10 and then P5, he has a long future ahead of him. The Brazilian fans have been waiting for a new hero in the premier class for a long time, and they might finally have one. But like Marc said, we all need to be patient. Let the kid make his mistakes, let him learn the tracks on this bike, and don't expect him to be the next alien overnight. So for all of us watching from the sidelines or the grandstands, let's appreciate the journey. It's rare to see a rookie come in and actually look like they belong straight away, not because of flashy overtakes, but because of maturity. Moreira showed maturity in Thailand. Now he just needs to keep that head down and keep grinding. And for Marc, it's cool to see him stepping into this elder statesman role, guiding the next generation while still trying to beat them on Sunday. That's the beauty of this sport, Saab. It's a cycle.